I see here that Representative Jonathan Steinberg has not been letting any grass grow under his feet, and we have here a media advisory, 9 states formalized coalition to push carbon pricing legislation, press conference, January 31st, 1 p.m., National Caucus of Environmental Legislators, an interstate coalition to really advance this policy in a coherent way. Do you want to make a comment, or did I nail it?
On the 31st, which we're calling a National Day of Action on carbon pricing for 9 states, at 10:30 in the morning, before the start of the veto session at 11, we're going to be having a press event in room 310 of the Capitol. We invite you all to be there. We want to bring real attention to raise awareness of carbon pricing. We hope we can convince the Environment Committee to take up a bill again this year. If not, maybe I can twist the arms of my co-chairs in Public Health and we can try it there as well. It's thanks to the National Council of Environmental Legislators, we really built an effective coalition, and this is an opportunity for all of us to believe that a carbon pricing program, in conjunction with our excellent RGGI program, is part of the solution. We can really start to call attention to the actual costs of carbon emitters across the state. As has been said by Commissioner Klee, we're not going to do it alone. It has to be with other states. I imagine Massachusetts is probably the furthest along and maybe the first to pass legislation. The legislation that many states have been talking about all have triggers that require a certain aggregate mass of states and population before they become effective. So again, 10:30 on the 31st, there's a national media call at 1 o'clock, but we'd love to see you in room 310 on the 31st. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm sensing a little momentum. Is anyone sensing a little momentum? Alex from the League of Conservation Voters, you had an announcement?
Yes.
Would you like a microphone for this announcement?
Oh, thank you. So under LCV, we have a CHISPA program. CHISPA in Spanish, it means spark. And a spark that which will ignite is our Clean Buses for Healthy Niños campaign. Just last month, we delivered over thousands of petitions to Governor Malloy's office. And we delivered these petitions with the goal of clean electric buses in mind, eventually becoming the new standard across Connecticut. So next month, we are making an official request to the Department of Energy. We are making an appeal for the Volkswagen Mitigation Fund. Volkswagen, they had to pay millions of dollars to the states. They had to pay millions of dollars to the states because they were lying about their emission standards. Billions, I'm sorry, billions, which is worse because our children's health is at stake. So that's why we have to change the standard, because 1 in 8 children are living in this state with asthma, and over 40% of that 1 in 8 children are black and brown children, and we have to do right by them. The rate we're going at with diesel is not the way of the future. Not if we want a clean one anyway. Does everybody want a clean future? So we're going to make the official submission for these funds, and hopefully we can get at least 5, 10 electric vehicles out on the road. Because as Sarah had mentioned, Hartford is one community with some of the lowest pollution, with some of the worst pollution in the country.
And so the other request is a request to all of your school boards and your municipalities who are interested in, losing all the paperwork there. A request is for all the school boards and municipalities to make sure that they have access to these funds as well. So be on the lookout. There's more information through our website at conservationeducation.org and also through our regular CTLCV website as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. setting up for Martha Klein, representing Connecticut Sierra Club and Consumers for Sensible Energy, and you can come have a mic. And while Martha's walking forward, I happen to know that she's putting together a fabulous event, Teach-In for a Livable World, Saturday, Climate Justice Focus, Saturday, February 24th, 12 to 6 at the Elmwood Community Center. I think Diane has some postcards and so forth. And I know, Diane Lintakis, I know that one of the featured subject matter areas is helping our towns plan for 100% renewable energy. And we are excited to be working on that stuff with Mark Scully from People's Action for Clean Energy, who didn't know I was going to recognize him, but we are co-conspirators. So here's Martha.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am feeling the momentum, and there's a lot to be enthusiastic about, but I'm going to be a voice of harsh reality. Right now, our electrical system is based 40% from nukes. We get 40% of our energy from nuclear power. 50% of our energy we get from natural gas or fracked methane. Then we get the rest from coal, from trash to energy, which, thank you, Claire, for those comments about trash needing to change that, and about 1% from real, truly clean and renewable energy, that is to say, wind or solar. Burning trash or collecting landfill methane is not a truly clean technology. So we're at a really scary place right now where our emphasis on fossil fuels continues to increase. The state still has a ratepayer subsidized natural gas expansion program in place. Maybe it's going to be considered to reverse that and take it away. But remember that we are all still investing our money on our electric bills to expand the use of natural gas or fracked methane in the state. The pipelines that are being expanded are export pipelines. The Atlantic Bridge, of which Eversource is an investor, is building out to the coast of Maine, where it will go to Canada for overseas export. The impact of liquefied natural gas export on our economy and our climate is going to be horrible. So we need to reverse the frack gas expansion. Look for legislation in this upcoming session. Contact Sierra Club, Consumers for Sensible Energy, and all of our good allies, looking for bills to stop the gas pipeline leaks, which is going to be a critical way to stop the expansion. The leaks are why burning natural gas is terrible for the climate, and as well as legislation to reverse the gas pipeline tax, which is a law. Thank you.
Thank you. Lou Birch, Citizens Campaign for the Environment.
Thank you. Why don't you hold on to that one?
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, and actually, would you all like to, relax? Yeah.
All right, give it up for our climate and energy panel.
Yes.
So good morning, folks. My name is Lou Birch. I'm the Connecticut Program Director for Citizens Campaign for the Environment. Wanted to start by thanking Lori and the League for inviting me up here to speak for a few moments. Just want to take a minute to talk about one of my priorities for this year. Citizens Campaign for the Environment is going to be hard at work again this year, working to modernize Connecticut's container deposit law, also known as the bottle bill. Okay, I know that a lot of folks have probably heard some discussion about this over the last several months. Connecticut's redemption rate for single-serve beverage containers has fallen in recent years. We're around 50% today. And while this is still better than what we see in states without a container deposit program on the books, we're falling significantly behind our fellow bottle bill states that range from anywhere to 70 to 80% redemption on these containers and above. National recycling data does indicate to us that states that have container deposit laws do 2 to 3 times better on average than states without them. States with a deposit on single-serve bottles and cans can actually cut down on container litter anywhere between 70 to 85%, while cutting down on overall litter in our communities and in our open spaces by as much as 65%. So there is evidence, it's a proven effective program that the container deposit works. And the issue is not whether or not that model is appropriate for recycling beverage containers, but the fact that Connecticut's unique system has not been updated in recent years to address, number one, the growing number of single-serve beverage containers for non-carbonated beverages like juices, teas, the Snapples, Gatorades of the world are not included in this program. But additionally, the finances of this program have not been updated in a meaningful way in over 30 years in order to make sure that the program is keeping up with the pace of inflation. And so the deposit, including the deposit amount, is simply not enough of an incentive anymore to achieve the recycling rates we once did. And so just to give a little bit of perspective, the state of Michigan, as some of you may know, have a 10-cent deposit on bottles and cans and enjoy upwards of a 90% recycling rate. And so additionally, the handling fees paid to retailers and redemption centers have not been adjusted and remain well below the fair market value paid to their counterparts in other states. So there's some very systematic changes that need to happen here. Reporting, accounting, and enforcement issues also exist, making it difficult for the state agency to maintain oversight over all areas of the program. And the $30 million plus that are generated every year through unclaimed nickels are directed into the general fund as opposed to being kept into the system so that there's actually some money to administrate this important program. And so we're also seeing some issues where beverage distributors are literally squeezing our redemption centers out of business by delaying payments and by requiring arbitrary by-hand counts of all the containers that they collect. So it's an inefficient system. The redemption centers are struggling, and as more and more of those redemption centers close their doors, we need to understand that's going to negatively affect our recycling rate as well. And so I'm just going to wrap up by saying what is needed in Connecticut on the container deposit is a comprehensive fix that expands the bottle bill to include all of those other containers that are not currently covered by the law, improves our state's recycling rates overall, modernizes the finances of the program, and allows a portion of the revenue generated by unclaimed nickels to go back into the system. So again, the point here that I'm trying to make today is that our Connecticut bottle bill is in trouble. It's struggling. It needs attention from the legislature, and we obviously need, the advocacy and the support of the community and the groups that are in this room today in order to help get that done. So, thank you very much.
And is there follow-up information in everyone's packets that they can contact you?
Yes, there is follow-up information both on Citizens Campaign for the Environment's website, which is citizenscampaign.org. You can also find some information about the coalition that we're working with at CT Bottle Bill Works, which is a Facebook page online. Folks can get plenty of information there as well.
Okay, sweet. And I mean, CTLCV has been working really hard to get massive amounts of information into your hands. So when you're out of here, make sure you actually protect and delve into that packet, okay? Couple things I was reminded to say. There's an opportunity for video interviews for especially folks representing organizations and initiatives, and that is taking place where? In the back room, okay. So make your way there if you like. The whole thing will be online. I have learned a ton, and I have been so impressed by everybody's both content and discipline. We have some time to talk among ourselves before lunch, and I just want to encourage a couple of themes. What did you hear that's hopeful? What did you hear that's disturbing? What did you hear that's brand new that just caught your attention? And what did you hear that's actionable? So those and any comments that you have. Ben, you have big voice or microphone?
Oh, I don't think I need a microphone.
All right.
No, okay. There was a lot of talk about this 45% goal in 2030. And while that's better than what we've had and it's an improvement, it seems to come from what's monetarily possible and what's legislatively possible, and it's not based on science or technological possibilities. We have the technology to go to 100% renewable energy and not have any emissions, to reduce our emissions to zero. And yet we set these goals which are not there. And we need to recognize that what's written into law and what's business demanded is not what's scientifically needed. We have an emergency on our hands, and we're treating it like something that has to be dealt with in a few years. We've seen the destruction in Puerto Rico. We've seen the wildfires in California. We've seen the destruction of our coast from Superstorm Sandy, and yet we keep pushing off dealing with this. And I just feel like this 45% number, while an improvement, is just not good enough.
Thank you. And you know, let's just not rush into back and forth, because we've heard the rationales. We've also heard, I think those of us who were at the Governor's Council on Climate Change meeting in the audience heard not a push off, but rather let's build out as fast as possible and let's grapple with what's realistic. And you know, I think we all we all ought to be about accelerating. Enough. Shut up, Melissa. Other Val.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to bring it back to one of the first panels and the issue of water as a public trust resource. This came under fierce debate and battle at the end stages of the state water plan. And our group, Save Our Water Connecticut, is staunchly in support of the principle being very directly restated in the final version of the water plan, if that means it needs to be amended in the legislature. It's great that so much work was done on the plan, and it encompasses so much that previously hadn't been pulled together about Connecticut's water. But to go backwards and to have our first ever state water plan shy away from actually stating that it's a public resource would feel to us, and I hope to many of you in the room, as sad. So we're hoping that legislators can kind of really look at it just like a trust in a bank. There's a principal, water, that is ours to use, but we don't, the water utilities don't own it, and we don't individually own it. The state administers the trust and gives the principal out to us, but if the trust principle itself is misused or abused, then there is a higher order than the individual owner that needs to address the issue and guard the resource. And we've learned this the hard way in Bloomfield with a major industrial water bottler sneaking into town with no transparency and now being free to transport water out of state without regulation. So thank you.
Thank you for all your work. How many people in this room are new advocates or newly jazzed in a major way, like not jaded old enviros? Or you can, you know, hands up high and proud, okay? So I want to invite you all, like applause. I would like to devote some time to you all, and you know, you don't have to be articulate. You just have to blurt out whatever is on your mind, either why you're here, what you'd like to learn, what you're working on. May I invite you to, I'm not going to put you on the spot, rather I'm going to invite you to step toward the spot. Comments from newbies? Yes.
Hi everyone, my name is Ben Breslaw, and with me are Wawa, how do you say your last name? Gatheru, and Hannah Casey. We're all students from the University of Connecticut, and we'd like to we represent a bunch of different environment-related groups on campus, as well as our internship with the UConn Office of Environmental Policy. And first and foremost, we're just really excited to be here and to hear that there's so much going on in all different fields to pursue renewable energy, land preservation, water preservation. This is incredible to hear. We're happy to talk with people about what UConn can do to help out with that. And we'd also love to talk about what UConn is doing right now. We're in the process of heading a campaign, which will hopefully come to a head next week, to create a new requirement at the university that all students take a course related to environmental sustainability before they graduate. So keep an eye out for information on that. The University Senate will be convening next week.
Thank you. Okay. Are you a new person also, or newish, or? Newish.
Hi, I'm Heidi, and this is my partner Elizabeth, and we got very activated and motivated by the last election, shall I say? Our name is Conservation Coalition, and we are working to bring together legislative action for a block we're trying to unify all the resistors in the block of Fairfield and then move out from there. And we're trying to make as big as impact with slacktivism, which will be calls and emails, as we can. But I'm the woman of action. I feel extremely passionate with action, and Elizabeth is my detail lady. She's all into it.
So our focus, kind of is two-pronged. We both act kind of locally with our town government, and so we joined forces to help with the Sustainable Connecticut program in our town. We happen to live in Greenwich, Connecticut. But we also want to work on state legislature, so that's why being here was very meaningful. Thank you, Lori, for fitting us in. And we're setting up kind of a calling feature so that we can activate just everyday citizens who would like to have a voice. And we've seen a groundswell in it, which is really exciting. But we also feel that now that we've gotten really educated on the topic for your average citizen, that we need to pull in more people, and people are willing to do it now. There's been a big groundswell as people have looked at what's happened with our EPA and our Department of Interior. So great to be here.
Thank you. Other newbies, newish, newly inspired?
Well, I feel maybe there's some even newer folks than me. I didn't get to jump in before. I'm Jeff Korjelak with Connecticut NOFA. I just wanted to remind you all about the importance of growing some of your own food and buying as locally as possible and organically, because lots of research is showing damage to developing mines from commonly used pesticides and all sorts of troubles. Connecticut NOFA also is putting in a bill we've submitted. It's called the Healthy Soils Bill for this short session, and it's intended to help incentivize regenerative agricultural practices in the future, which will help us reduce climate change through capturing carbon dioxide into the soil. So I'm relatively new at Connecticut NOFA, 2.5 years, but I'm a long-term supporter of Connecticut League for Conservation Voters, and I applaud all that's going on here today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. How much time do we have before we should turn to lunch? I've stepped away from my timing thing. Another 5. Sweet. Okay. Let's do you and then you.
Hi, I'm Wawa Gathero, as Ben Bristol just said a couple minutes ago. I'm a sophomore at the University of Connecticut, and I just want to commend everyone in this room, first of all. I had the opportunity to go to the COP23 conference in Bonn, Germany last year in November, and we were able to see how the We Are Still In movement is going strong, and how Connecticut as a state is still denouncing our federal government's inability to say that climate change is legitimate and is real and is going to be affecting us today and tomorrow. I also want to bring up the importance for us to try to include communities of color, Indigenous people in these conversations, especially since these communities are at the forefront of environmental injustice. And as there's so many influential people in this room, ensuring that we're intentional in the way that we collaborate and work with people from different communities.
Hi, my name is Jacinda. I'm a senior at the Connecticut River Academy High School in East Hartford, right on the Goodwin College campus. And I'm here with my environmental theme coach, Ms. Salas, Victoria, and Karen. I just wanted to say that I appreciate and I'm kind of proud of the climate action plan that has been brought up here for the city of Hartford. And its goal to give access to, clean energy for low-income families, and that's very important for me, living, being a resident of Hartford my whole life. And we are truly at the forefront of environmental injustice. So I just want to commend that, and I appreciate that being brought up as a proposal and idea. So yeah, thank you.
All right, well, excuse me. Let us simply take a moment and just like a couple of breaths and okay, we're through the morning, we heard a lot. And I'm guessing that, everybody is going to be moving toward lunch with, a lot of questions, a lot of topical discussions, a lot of networking. But I hope also with a sense that for every single person in this room, there is some specific thing to be done. And that's not the same as, oh, let's all get involved. It's really more personal and more specific. And I just want to, I always find that when I come out of something like this, my energy level can drop or sustain itself. And one of the things that makes my energy level sustain itself is to say, I know what I'm going to do. I know one thing. So I hope that everyone will just, let your muse, stay active and alive. And, we'll be back after lunch with conversation that is specifically about legislative advocacy, how to, and then engaging your questions and comments at that level. So thank you.